All right, it looks like we got everybody in here. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen for the College and Career Writing Night, and if you can hear me, okay? All right. Well, I could not be more excited. I'm very, very excited to be able to welcome some of our students and our families, and I know we also have our guests on here as well, who I'll introduce in a few moments. But to our 2022 College and Career Writing Night. Just a couple things for protocol wise. We will have opportunities that we can definitely ask some questions of our guests and have kind of a broader conversation. But if you can, while you're in our presentation this evening, you can keep yourself on mute if you're not talking. That just helps us kind of minimize some of that feedback noise and otherwise that we would have. But otherwise, with that, we are very, very excited to be able to come together this evening for, as I said, our College and Career Writing Night here at District 214. To give a little bit of background, so tonight's evening, for about the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to be talking about our aviation career pathway and the opportunities that we provide along with our partners and along with some of our employers around opportunities in a career pathway in aviation. So you may be asking, what is a college and career pathway and why are we talking about these things this evening? Really, our college and career pathways, these are the model that in District 214, we really arrange all of our different opportunities, our courses, our experiences, so that they're leading our students beyond graduation. We really look at these as being opportunities for us to think about the end in mind as we're setting up opportunities for our students to participate in. And in this case, what we're looking for is how can we provide the best opportunities here in District 214 to help our students discover their futures, help them figure out what they might want to be doing or might not want to be doing after they graduate from high school, as they go out into the real world and have a whole happy and great set of opportunities that sit before them for them to be very, very successful. Now, I'm kind of speaking to some of our students and our families right now. You may look at this as being a big pressure in terms of what are the choices that I'm going to make and what happens if I make the wrong choice. The reality is you can't make a wrong choice in terms of what you're doing here. When we're looking at District 214's opportunities around college and career pathways, they're all about us providing you with opportunities, as I said, to figure out what you might want to do when you leave high school, but also what you don't. And this is why we brought together a fantastic panel that I'll introduce in just a moment to help you along that way. And this is one of the many steps that you'll have as you go through your courses and your different experiences in high school to be able to engage with your teachers, to engage with our specialists in our high schools, to engage with our industry partners to help put you on a course for success as you go forward. So with that, I'd like to make a couple introductions. So I am Dan Widener. I'm an associate principal and a career and technical education division head over at Wheeling High School. And you see we have a number of different panelists here who in just a few moments I'll ask to kind of introduce themselves as we kick off our panelist portion. But what I think is really, really exciting, we have some fantastic instructors, we have some fantastic support specialists, we have some fantastic individuals from industry and employers. So this evening, you really have an opportunity to get the best of all these worlds. You got to hear a little bit about the program, about some of the supports we provide, but also what is the real world of work in the field of aviation like. So throughout this evening, I would highly, highly encourage you. You guys can kick your videos on at any point. You can turn yourself off mute. You can put questions in the chat box. We want our discussion today to be as helpful and as relevant and informative as it can be. And your guys' participation in that is going to be absolutely key. So as we get later on in the presentation, or if there are any questions as we go throughout, feel free to drop them in the chat, or you can unmute, kick your video on. And by all means, I think all of our panelists this evening would be more than happy to engage in any questions that you may have. So I have the opportunity this evening to give a little bit of an overview. When we talk about our aviation pathway here at District 214, what does that mean? So what you see over here on your screens is a number of the different opportunities that we can provide our students, all the way from as early as freshman year of high school, going all the way up through your senior year, the different experiences related to the aviation that you can take. So I'm going to point out a couple key areas, but by all means, I think even better will be our discussion later on with our panelists who can talk about these individual experiences in some more depth. First and foremost, what I want to show when we talk about our college and career pathways, it really is a comprehensive plan, looking at all the different experiences, all the different courses, both in your elective areas, but also what we call our core. So looking at your English, your math, your social science, your science courses, in addition to those CTE or career and technical education courses that you may take. Today, we're really going to kind of focus in on those CTE, those courses directly related to aviation. And as you can see, they can start as early as your freshman year. And we have actually two starting points that many of our students who are interested in aviation may take. And one is within our automotive and our transportation tech programs, starting with automotive systems, or another one would be within our Project Lead the Way Engineering Essentials course. A lot of times students ask, if I want to go into aviation, where should I start? And the reality is, between those two choices, I don't really have a recommendation of one over the other. We have some of our instructors here who will talk about the individual components within those. Auto systems sometimes is a little more hands-on. You're actually working on different systems, engines, learning about the components of a car. And then also there will be units within that course that then relate to answering the question, how does this relate to an airplane? How does this relate to a career in transportation? But it's a great opportunity for you to start getting some of those fundamental skills and knowledges under your belt that would help you go forward, whether you decide going on with automotive systems and the automotive tech industry, or also looking at careers within aviation. Another route that many of our students will start is in a course which we call PLTW, so that's Project Lead the Way, Engineering Essentials. And this course is really focused in on some of our problem-solving skills, learning how to approach different challenges in the ways that an engineer or a technician would do so. And many of those skills directly relate over to the field of engineering, as well as the field of aviation. As students progress forward, we have another Project Lead the Way course. It's called Aerospace Engineering. So in this course, students are really learning the fundamentals of flight. They do flight planning. Students are working within aviation simulators, building different gliders and different aircraft systems. And by all means, we have two amazing instructors on here who I think a little later on this afternoon, or evening, pardon me, would be continuing on that. When we get towards our junior year, we really encourage our students to be getting a really good foundation in their core sciences. So learning, going through our physics programs and looking at the different related topics between physics and aviation, physics and flight. And then finally, I'm going to take a little bit of time to talk about this. We have an absolutely outstanding opportunity here at District 214. I can safely say one of a few programs across the entire nation, one of the few in the entire state that give this depth and this amazing opportunity to students in high school. And this is what we call, it's our College Aviation Academy. So students from District 214 have an opportunity during their senior year to apply into our Aviation Academy. And really there are two specific routes that students can go. So the first one, for our students who may want to be going into becoming a pilot and actually going the route of being able to fly aircraft, we give the opportunity that students can do a full year of ground school. So this is directly related to pilot certification. This course actually provides students with the opportunity to earn early college credit if they want to go on and get a bachelor's degree in aviation. Our partner for that is with Lewis University. Or there's another route. And there's amazing opportunities, and we have some fine individuals on our panel today who will be talking about this, but related to becoming an aviation maintenance tech. So thinking of the mechanics for airplanes, the mechanics for helicopters, the mechanics for all the different flight systems on things that fly. And this is a fantastic, amazing, and highly in need opportunity that we provide. So our students can take two college level courses, also supported through Lewis University, towards getting their aviation maintenance tech certification. Now, what I left off of this, and I think it's one of the most exciting and fantastic portions of this, we are very fortunate, and this is through our partnership with Chicago Executive Airport. Our courses are actually delivered on the grounds of Chicago Executive Airport in a classroom hangar space. So in our hangar, we have a real airplane. Students are out there as one of their courses every single day that their course meets. They're on the airport grounds taking courses from certified individuals who are teaching these. They're getting the real deal. And also, I should know, we have extensions of these courses where students are doing internships and different types of opportunities on the airport grounds. So they're getting both the theory and the education side that helps set them up for success, whether they want to be an aviation maintenance tech, whether they want to become a pilot, but also they get that real life experience, being able to engage with different professionals within those workspaces right on the grounds of Chicago Executive Airport. It is a absolutely amazing program. I am so excited that I get to be talking to you guys, not only about the pathway, but also about that capstone opportunity. And throughout this evening, we can definitely talk about, if that is something of interest, how you may be able to apply for that opportunity during your junior year or your senior year. But certainly these are some unique opportunities, I will say, help us really stand out in District 214. And we couldn't be more excited with our students who are here and our families who are here to be bringing that to you. So with that, I am going to pause on my portion. And as I said, many of these things we're going to be able to elaborate a little bit more on. But I thought I would give our panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves. And then maybe we'll jump in and talk a little bit more about some of the career opportunities in this field, and also a little bit more about some of those opportunities within the pathway. So maybe if we can fly down the list as listed, so we can start off with Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. Jeffrey Miller, I'm the Executive Director of Chicago Executive Airport. Wanted to say one, thank you to Dan and Kathy. This is year 20 going on 21 in this industry, and the program that has been established from 214 at our airport is really second to none. And we've had this last year, 2 of your students that went through 214 that are now in aviation programs at aviation colleges come back and work at the airport. So it's just a great ecosystem. It's a great relationship. I'm so happy to be a part of this panel. And I just wanted to say kudos to you and your staff for making this possible.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, over to Brad.
Hi, good evening, and thanks for inviting me on. This is exciting to see a program like this, but my name is Brad Delisle. I fly for SkyWest Airlines. I've been a captain there for a few years now. I've been with the company for 7 years, and I'm also a pilot recruiter, and it's just been an absolute blast being a pilot for the airline and working commercially, and it's given me the opportunity to see the world, and now's my opportunity to kind of share that with some of the students that are thinking they want to get involved in this path as well. So any questions about flying, I'm happy to answer those as well.
All right, I think we have, oh, did we lose Donato? We might have lost Donato, so I think it's over to you, Gary, and we'll see if Donato joins us in a little bit.
Good evening. Thank you for having me on this panel. My little title there says Education Outreach Liaison. Actually, I'm a retired aircraft maintenance crew chief for American Airlines. They let me still do this type of thing, and they got a fancy title for me, but I actually have hands-on experience with fixing airplanes, 37 and a half years, give or take, with American, 43 years total, counting my US Navy time. Look forward to some very, very good, interesting questions, some good conversations. Thank you again.
All right, over to Ms. Bank.
Hi, I'm Val Bank, and I am the Student Success Coach at Wheeling High School, and my role is to recruit and students to join work-based learning experiences, and that includes our apprenticeships and internship programs that we partner with our local industries.
All right, Mr. Hyde.
Hi, I'm Rich Hyde. I am a teacher at John Hersey High School currently. I've been doing the Project Lead the Way engineering courses now for 17 years for District 214. And about 11 years ago, brought in the aerospace engineering program to District 214 as well, and have been teaching that course ever since. So excited to be here tonight, excited to hear about all of the questions from the parents and students from District 214.
All right, I think it's over to you, Mr. McGing.
Good evening. I'm Patrick McGing. I'm a career and technical education teacher at Elk Grove High School. Similar to Rich, this is my 10th year teaching. All 10 years, I've also taught the aerospace engineering course at Elk Grove High School. I also teach some of the additional engineering courses, and then also some of the multimedia courses at Elk Grove High School. So looking forward to questions.
All right, it looks like Donato might have joined us. Donato, we're just doing some general introductions. I think you're with us, maybe.
Yeah,
There we
sorry
go.
about that. I don't know why my video won't work, but anyways, there we go.
Hey, there we go. We got you.
I can see now. Okay, yeah, my name is Donato Giuseppe. I'm a technical operator for facility maintenance, but I also do cover with the automotive side as well. So with your programs that you have with the automotive or facility side engineering, I can kind of cover most of that area. But I've been with American now for 38 years. So it's been a good career for me, and I've still got a couple of more years left. So look forward to answering some questions.
Fantastic. And Kathy, I know officially you're playing host today, but do you want to talk about your role and how you play into all the work that we're doing with the aviation pathway?
Sure. Thanks, Dan. I'm Kathy Wicks. I'm the host tonight of this amazing aviation panel. I work in Center for Career Discovery. My role is partnership manager and also apprenticeship program supervisor. So I'm happy to be here. It's always an honor to facilitate work-based learning for students and get them connected to these amazing industry partners that we have so they can get authentic experiences in high school and really affirm if this is the career path that is something they want to continue, or as Dan said earlier, something that maybe not, and then they'll switch gears. But again, happy to be here facilitating on the back end and looking forward to a great discussion tonight.
All right, I can definitely put some slides back up later on if we need them. But I want to highlight the panelists that we have here and give them truly the center show. So maybe I'll start out with Jeff, Donato, Brad, and Gary. So it was not a mistake, kind of in our determination of this panel, that we have a number of different individuals from different aspects of the field of aviation. And one of the things I would stress to our students, when you think about any of our career pathways, aviation being one of them, you might automatically think of aviation means pilots, and that's the only thing, that's the only opportunity out there in the field. And I could say, if you can walk away with one thing from this evening, a great takeaway is knowing that there's a lot of different opportunities within these fields. So maybe briefly, maybe one at a time, can you talk about your actual role within the field of aviation to give a little bit of a perspective of the different things that you may be doing within this career field? So anybody who wants to start, we'll float it out there.
I'll go if you want, Dan. Jeff Miller again. So myself, I manage the airport. Really, it goes back to what you said, Dan. Kind of two things. The industry itself, even to this day, people will ask me, "You work at an airport? Can you get me a deal on airline tickets?" And I say no. And then they say, "Okay, well, what do you do there? Is it a pilot?" Which I do fly. I fly for recreation. When I started this field, I think we all kind of started thinking, being a pilot was the one thing that you can do. But then I realized, through the same as you guys are opening doors for students, that there's so many more opportunities. I get to fly for recreation, but I get to do so many amazing things at our airport day in and day out and work with all of our partners. You mentioned that you toured the American hangars. What I would say to that is, so if that's at CDA, Chicago Department of Aviation, the same role that I have here, they have there. Somebody is overseeing those airports. They're doing ground leases. They're developing those opportunities. And that's what we do at our airport. Just today I was with our state senator, giving them a tour of the grounds. Last week I met Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's not every week, but those type of things happen where you're constantly involved in working with your partners to develop this field, to build aviation. With our partnership with 214, one of the things that as the airport that we instituted is we have an aircraft that's been hanging around the airport for about 20 years, a workable aircraft. So we started the conversation, Dan, Kathy, with Lewis University, to donate that aircraft. So now you'll have two, so you're getting quite the fleet over there. But that, I think as an airport, I'll say my role, like an airport manager, there are so many general aviation airports in this country, and it's truly an opportunity to give people the experience that, I think that there's barriers in this industry that aren't necessarily, I don't think they're put there by purpose, but people drive by the airport, especially an airport like ours, and they understand what happens at like an O'Hare or Midway. Okay, I get on Spirit Airlines and I go down to Fort Lauderdale. Great, that's what I do there. But when they realize they can train, they can be a part of this industry, maybe they want to do something working, line service in an FBO. That's how I started. I think that's where we start to peel back some of those layers and show people what our airport can do. I mean, even when you look at a commercial service airport, like an O'Hare or an Indianapolis, whatever it might be, TSA puts those lovely barbed wire all over everything. It's not so inviting necessarily sometimes to individuals. So you see at our airport, we have the viewing area. We can show people that, you can come here and you can have a great rewarding experience. And we try to put that all together as the airport. We're not here as a profit center. We're here as more of the greater good. So we want our partners to succeed, whether that's 214, whether that's our corporate jet operators, everything that exists at O'Hare, basically we have, right? We have mechanics, we have line service technicians, we have pilots, engineers, finance directors, everything it's a little city within itself. And so using your local airport manager to dive into that is I think one of those opportunities, because we exist in pretty much every community. So I'll be quiet there because you got a lot of panelists, but I'm excited about my job and I'm excited to talk about it.
All right.
I'll go next. If nobody else wants to. Let's see. I retired last May from American Airlines as a line maintenance crew chief. What that means is, as a crew chief, I had a crew and we were responsible, or I was responsible for them, to make sure we got the airplanes from the hangar to terminal. We taxi our own airplanes back and forth. Comes to the hangar, if it's broke, we get it fixed and get it back to the airline as quick and safely as we can. I've been doing this for about 43 years. Aviation, I think, is one of the most dynamic industries you'll find in the country anywhere. And I'm sure all the aviation panelists here would probably tend to agree with that. At least I hope they would. And aviation is actually one of the few industries that it really is a team effort. There was a study a college did, and it takes something like 83 individuals to get one airplane ready for flight. You have the flight crew, the cabin crew, you have maintenance, you have the fuelers, you have the dispatch, you have the meteorologist. 83 people to dispatch one flight. And for us to get the airplane out of the hangar and into the hangar relies on people like Donato. He's our facilities maintenance individual. He's in charge of the air conditioning for the hangar, the electrical systems for the hangar, the bathrooms in the hangar, everything that is not on the airplane pretty much is Donato's responsibility. And it's a very rewarding career. There's a lot of responsibility that goes along with it. You're compensated nicely for it, but there are drawbacks. I spent time on night shift in the middle of January changing engines outside. Sometimes you work holidays. Actually, I shouldn't say sometimes. A lot of times you work holidays. You learn to adapt, and hopefully families learn to adapt. Eventually, I did end up on a day shift, so usually seniority based, and as you get accrue more seniority, you get the better shifts, I guess. Some people prefer nights. I've known people that have spent 30 years on nights. How they do it, I have no idea. Anyway, I'm looking forward to some great questions and great conversations. I'll turn it over to the next panelist.
So I guess I'll give you some insight into what I do. So I'm a pilot in the industry, and I know my role is probably one of the more visible roles in the aviation industry. And there's so many unsung heroes that make my job possible, and it's impossible to thank them all because it's just invaluable to have so many people behind us, from dispatchers, the air traffic controllers. The airplanes wouldn't fly without maintenance, and so I'm grateful for everybody that works on these aircraft and so on. But even just as being a pilot, people think of pilots, they think airline pilots, and there's so many other opportunities beyond just flying for the airlines. And I've done several of them. So I started as a bush pilot in Northern Alaska, flying supplies, I flew food people, teachers, doctors out to local villages up in northern Alaska, many native villages, some of which didn't even have running water. I lived in these villages, and that was a fantastic experience. I've flown scenic tours around the Grand Canyon. If you've ever wondered how your Amazon package gets from San Bernardino, California to your doorstep in 18 hours, I was responsible for a big part of that journey. I've flown Amazon packages, I've flown beehives, I've flown radioactive material, I've flown all sorts of interesting materials throughout the United States. But even outside of that, there's banner towers, crop dusters. Pilots feed the world in a lot of ways when they go out and dust those crops. The skydive pilots for the recreational side of things, bear watchers and viewing, lots of tourism. There's so many opportunities in aviation, even law enforcement. I can tell you, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol has been emailing me frequently asking me, hey, are you still interested in that career in law enforcement? It's like, no, I've got a pretty sweet gig at the airline, but thanks for asking. So I've just got so many opportunities right now available to me, and that's expected to continue for at least the next decade. So it's exciting to see these programs helping to fill that need.
All right, like Gary said, mine is a supporting role. Like I tell the kids, what my job is I make sure that those hangar doors open and close so they can get airplanes in and out. Keep the lights on, keep the heat and air conditioning working, and give aircraft maintenance all the air and electric they need to fix the airplanes. And then also with what we tell the kids too is when they come out to the airport, or even when you're at any airport, I tell them all the pieces of equipment that you see that have wheels on it, other than an airplane, our automotive crew works on. And we have everybody from body and fender guys to, we have our own paint shop. So that's like the easiest way to explain it. You see any piece of equipment with wheels on it, other than an airplane, we have our automotive team that fixes that. And then, like I said, we got the facility team over at the terminal. Our job over there is to make sure that the jet bridges work so we can get people on and off the airplane, plus maintaining all the facilities at the airport itself. But that's basically my role.
All right, so I'm sure I'll come back to that one at some point. But again, one of our biggest takeaways when we think about the field of aviation, it's not just one or two jobs that might be the ones that are out there right in the forefront that we commonly see. There's, Gary, I think you said 83, or Jeff or Gary, 83 different individuals in order to have one flight take off. And I started a tally, and I lost my tally of the different careers that all touch the aviation industry, and they're all in need. So I think these are great opportunities to look at. I'm going to give the next one kind of over to our school crews. So we have programs in aviation at the high schools. So when you think about like, what could a student actually do related to aviation in our courses and our pathways within our high school buildings if this was something that they were interested in? What might their experience be like, and what are some of the areas that they could get involved?
Sure, I can start, and then we can certainly hand it over to Pat and Val. So Rich Hyde again at Hersey High School, been teaching the aerospace course now for 11 years. And really what that course is all about is giving the students an overview of pretty much every aspect of the aerospace world. So we really start talking about math and science concepts behind how these big aircraft get up into the air, as well as actually piloting. So we actually use our Microsoft or X-Plane flight simulators in our classrooms, and the kids are able to interact with yoke, which is industry standard on most aircraft made here in the United States, where they can go out and learn how to pilot an aircraft in a safe environment. Really getting those kids the experience of being able to get it behind the yoke, take off, fly a short flight plan, and then land that aircraft. So we really talk about aircraft for a majority of the class, as well as getting into more of a look at spacecraft as well, moving out there. But again, a majority of the class is focused around the aircraft flying in the air. Not only do we have that course that's available We also like, the pathway that was on one of those slides that Dan was showing earlier says, we can certainly have your students looking at more of the aviation maintenance technology or technician program rather, where they would start, potentially in an automotive class, work their way through that aerospace engineering class, and then finish with that AMT certification during their senior year as a class, again, offered at Chicago Executive Airport. So really, those two pathways are just a phenomenal way for the kids to enter this wonderful career field.
To add on what Rich said, I think like like my experience, again, I'm sure Rich would echo it, would be with the aerospace engineering course. It is a huge overview of many, many different topics. So it is a really good introduction with that. I think as some of the other, the professionals here have said, it's a great, great opportunity because we're so close. And I'm at Elk Grove, so we're taking a field trip over to O'Hare to see the American Airlines hangars first week of November. And that's 10 minutes away. And that means like the field trip's 10 minutes away. And a lot of, at least for me and most of District 214, that's going to mean that, a possibility of employment or a career is 10 minutes away, 20 minutes away. And that's just O'Hare, right? So even Milwaukee is not that far. Schaumburg, Rockford, not that far. So just the access to these different facilities is a huge benefit to the students of District 214. And then just within the school itself, I think any tech club, I know Rich plays a huge part with Robot Rumble in the district. I'm the sponsor of Robot Rumble at Elk Grove, which is, if you've ever seen the show BattleBots, it's the same thing. We have the high mileage competition. So all these different tech-based clubs that, as long as you're kind of getting some hands-on experience and working with, materials is actually one of the units in the aerospace curriculum, but again, it applies outside of that as well. Whether you want to be a pilot, aircraft maintenance, all of this kind of goes hand in hand. And there's a reason too, like automotive is kind of tied with it. If you're gonna drive a car, I do always think it's a good thing to have an idea of how it works. And I know, Brad, you could probably correct me if I'm wrong. Like, it's always nice to understand just how a plane kind of is put together too, if you're the one flying it. I wouldn't want to be stranded out in Alaska and not know how to maybe fix something, but all those different hands-on experiences are going to really help any student who wants to go into this field. So I think just the clubs, the different courses at all these schools in the district are really beneficial.
Yeah, I think that's great. And thank you for listening and talking about some of the different activities and opportunities beyond the classes as well. I'd be amiss if I didn't plug District 214. We also have an NGROTC, so Naval Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. And that program actually has a full drone program as well, where students are building and flying drones competitively. So that's another opportunity, both curricularly and also extensions to that that you can do. So maybe talk about extensions a little bit. So we've talked about the careers. That's the end cap of where we're ultimately trying to get our students to. We've talked about some of the courses that we have within the high school and even the courses that we have over at Chicago Executive Airport. Kathy and Val, could you maybe speak? We have these things that we call workplace learning experiences. Things like internships, opportunities for our students to get more than what we're giving within our buildings. Can you talk a little bit about what those are and maybe how a student might get involved with those type of opportunities?
Sure. Val, do you want to talk about Wheeling and the opportunity to apply for internship? And then I can maybe talk a little bit about what we're doing with Chicago Executive Airport and Aviation embedded internship.
Sure. Yeah. So what I do, one of my role is to recruit and find the students who are interested in these pathways. So and I like to we make sure they have the opportunity to get into these internship and apprenticeships. And by doing that, we try to make sure that they have the coursework. So that is really important. The coursework, we talked about the coursework. So we make sure they have the coursework. And then during recruitment, they meet with me and I walk them through the entire process of enrolling into these programs. And then we do placement with our industry partners. And we have check-ins, and it's a great opportunity for them to really get that hands-on learning experience before they actually, go into that pathway and see if it's something that they really want to do and enjoy. So it's been a wonderful opportunity to see and hear out the stories of really discovering what they really like. So it's been great.
That's awesome. And so the internship opportunity is open to anyone in any pathway with usually one or two of the pathway courses, and internships are 30 or 60 hours during the course of a semester. If you're enrolled in Aviation Academy, we are working with Chicago Executive and their FBOs to create an embedded opportunity for aviation. So if you're enrolled in the course, you'll be at the Chicago Executive Airport during the school day, and after your school day is over, you'll be on site and do a rotation through the FBOs and get that experience as to what are all the career opportunities at Chicago Executive, which again mirror other airports across other communities as well. So we're really excited for that partnership to take off.
Yeah. And I would say if you're a junior or senior, if you're interested in internships, apprenticeships, we've talked about Aviation Academy. Really two key things that you should be doing. So one, you should be talking to either your student success coach at your building or your counselor. Make sure that they know this is something that you're interested in. And then two, we have a website, District 214, that all of our applications for these opportunities are out there. So it's apply214.org. So once again, that's apply214.org. You can go on there for, oh, what was that, Kathy?
I'll pop that in the chat.
Perfect. So on that site, you can apply for Aviation Academy, whether you're interested in going the pilot route or the aviation maintenance tech route. Both of those applications are right there. Or if you're interested in an internship, apprenticeship, whether that be in aviation or another field, all those applications are right there on that site. I'm going to come back to our industry professionals. Can you talk briefly and just kind of we'll do a quick runaround. You guys are all in different roles, and getting to know a couple of you over the years, I also know that you took some different routes getting there. So can you talk about the training or the education that you had prior to being in these roles that allowed you to be successful where you are right now?
I'll start on that one, I suppose. So basically, out of high school, I went enlisted in the U.S. military, United States Navy, spent a total of about 7 years there. And of course, the Navy will send you to school for whatever field you choose. I chose aviation maintenance. After I got out of the military, got hired by a few smaller airlines before I got hired by a major air carrier, which was American. And we like to say an airframe and power plant license is basically a license to learn, because you never stop learning. The airline will get a new fleet of airplanes, whether it's an Airbus, a 787, 737, or whatever the case might be. You will go to school on that particular airplane before you're basically let loose to supposedly maintain it. If you haven't been to school on the airplane, you can't very well maintain that airplane. Under supervision, we bring our newer mechanics on board also that way. So it's a continuing educational process. And a lot of American anyway offers a lot of so-called, I think it's soft courses. A colleague of mine, Jack O'Callahan, him and I got our operational excellence certification through American Airlines. We were also considered SMEs, subject matter experts, which I have to somewhat chuckle every time they call me one of those. But we would participate in new crew chief training down at the headquarters in Dallas. Aviation, and I'm sure others, Jeffrey, Brad, Donato, all have training on what you do. So I'll turn it over to one of them.
I can touch on the pilot side of things. My pathway to where I am now was less than traditional, but in high school, I was very much a struggling student. And so I thought that this may have been a closed pathway to me because I struggled so much when I was a teenager. But what I learned was there's two different types of flight schools, and either one can earn you a pilot certificate, Part 61 and Part 91. And it turned out that I just had an aptitude towards aviation. And so if maybe you struggle with the traditional classroom environment, a Part 61 flight school may be the better pathway for those types of candidates, where there are no grades. It's entirely hands-on learning, where all the learning takes place in the aircraft with some ground instruction, but all of the ground instruction is very practical in the content that's delivered. And so it's very aviation flying based knowledge and training, and it's a little bit less of the academic or the traditional academic type setting. For those of you that thrive in the academic type setting, a Part 141 school may be the better pathway to go, which is considered an accredited aviation academy like Lewis University, which 214 partners with. And it's not to say that any candidate can't be successful in either program. It's just that's generally what I've seen people get better geared for. But I went to a Part 61 flight school in Lake in the Hills, Illinois. I know that they have Part 61 schools at Chicago Executive as well. So they're everywhere. They're all over the place. And there's some advantages and disadvantages to both. And I'm happy to answer questions if those come up. But that's kind of the route that I took. I got my certificates. Once I had a commercial pilot certificate, that allows you to earn money doing what I do, flying airplanes, and that's what I got, a commercial pilot certificate, and that's when I went to Alaska and put it to good use.
And for myself, I enjoyed being a handyman. And in my teenage years, my father was actually having his house redone. So I got to work hand in hand with an old Irish guy who taught me a lot. And from there, when I went into the military, I went into the Army. And I did a lot of courses while I was there. I got my electrical certificates there, plumbing, because like I said, because basically what I do is I'm a carpenter, electrician, plumber, welder. So each one of those facets, I went to school to try and better myself. And the nice thing is with the group of guys that I work with, not everybody's a specialist. Everybody has their niche of what they're really good at. But when you put that whole team together, when something goes down, we're all able to put our heads together and figure it out. Like Gary said, even in my field, it's always learning. I mean, back 38 years was relay logic. Now it's all computers and electronics. So you're having modern technology as it's changing in order to keep up with the industry.
And I would just add on my end, similar experiences to a lot of what everybody talked about. And, sometimes, especially on the airport management side of the world, we're not seen. And if you're get on your flight, you go on your way, and you never knew we existed, you probably had a good experience at the airport. So for myself trying to get into this, it was kind of similar. I was a teenager. We had a local general aviation airport. And, I started really just going and talking to people and saying, hey, what is this? And the airport manager there gave me a job cutting grass, painting hangars. And so, you spend your time in that environment, you start talking to people like Brad or Donato, Gary, that are in this industry, and they kind of help you to say, hey, you can do certain things that it's beyond cutting grass on the side of the runway, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of people that still do that at our airport today. But as I started to talk to these experts, I realized, to Brad's point, there's a lot of different avenues. For myself and my role in my job, you are not required to have any degree normally, as far as it has to be this. There's usually a preference for aviation management, which is the degree I have, and I have a master's degree in aviation finance. But a lot of these airports across the country, you'll see them managed by people that have a business degree. Jamie Reed, who's the commissioner of O'Hare, she was procurement, an attorney, and now runs one of the largest airport systems in the world. And so, breaking down some of those, I think, hurdles that we see, I think that's the great part with